Cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to Tommy for getting us in here. Um, we will start with introductions. I see a couple new faces, which is excellent. So we'll just go around and say our names, our neighborhood, and just briefly why we're here. Hey, my name's James Van Breken. I'm one of the co-chairs of PPAC. I live on Ridge Street, and then walk insightful to work.
Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Sarp. I live in Georgetown Green, Albemarle. And I also walk to work.
I'm Peter Olms. I live in Belmont. And I was trying to come to these meetings, although I haven't been to them.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm kind of new to Charlottesville. I'm a grad student over at UVA, and they told me about these meetings. I worked in bike advocacy in Kansas City, where I used to live. And here, to tell you the truth, I don't know what neighborhood I'm in. I'm just north of Rose Hill. Some people call it Kellytown.
Well, real quick on that, did you go by Kat or Catherine?
Catherine.
Okay, Catherine. There are neighborhoods, and then there are 19 planning neighborhoods that the city made up. So, we can talk about your specific.
Kellytown's accurate. That's
Kellytown.
That's accurate. Yeah. Because Rose Hill was the Heights.
I'm Peter Krebs. I live in Belmont. I work for the Piedmont Environmental Council. I bike, commuter, runner, walker, all that stuff.
My name is Mike Parisi. I bike half the time, and I mostly come to these meetings because I'm the Rose Hill neighborhood vice president and keep abreast of bike ped stuff in our neighborhood.
I'm Jen Fleischer. I'm on city council and I live in Belmont. I also bike most of the time and yeah.
I'm Timothy Kimball. This is my first meeting. I live in Martha Jefferson. And I heard about this through the neighborhood walks.
Nice, Tommy. Well
That's
done.
Meredith.
Nice, Mayor.
Hi, Meredith.
I'm Tommy Safranik, the city's bike and pedestrian coordinator, and I live in Martha Jefferson neighborhood.
Meredith, do you want to kick us off online?
I would love to. Hi, I'm Meredith McCrite. I live in Fry Spring and I'm the secretary for BPAC and I lead a bike ride on Sundays. And I also enjoy walking. Alberic.
Everyone, I'm Alberic Carino-Plun. I'm a county transportation planner. I live downtown and I enjoy walking there.
Oh, Ethan?
Hey, Ethan Tate, local dad, live in the Martha Jefferson neighborhood, got a first grader at Sunrise, and e-bike enthusiast, and been doing this for a little while now.
Nice. And Josh, are you able to speak?
I think so. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm cold. I live in Fifeville. I'm volunteer with Seville, run the e-bike library, and as of January, I'm on the planning commission. And I mostly walk and bike.
Awesome. Thank you. Excellent. So first order of business, does anyone have any amendments they'd like to propose either to today's agenda or to the meeting minutes from January's meeting? Lovely. Next up is public comment, opportunity to ask general questions, talk about something, bring something to our attention that isn't on the agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to provide for public comment?
The summit's not on the agenda, right? So
There's not.
I'll just make a quick announcement about it. I invite everybody who's here, especially the new folks, to attend the 6th Annual Active Mobility Summit, March 5th and 6th at the Wolf Factory. It's a celebration of progress, a coming together of different types of people developing ideas of ways to work together for better walking, biking, transit, and park access. It's free. There's food provided. We have a pretty good lineup that's coming together. It should be very exciting. And you can learn more about it by going to pecva.org/mobility summit. So yeah.
Nice. And
there's a link for it on the listserv as of today.
Great. And the plan at the moment is that there won't be a March feedback meeting because March 5th is the time the feedback would be meeting. So
correct. Yeah. So it's an evening.
We'll be there.
The Thursday evening session will actually go great with BPAC. We're going to have a keynote speaker his name is Pedestrian. He's from Roanoke. He's part of the team that put together their awesome Greenway network, and he runs an organization that promotes outdoor recreation. We're going to have a sort of just review of some of the awesome stuff that's happened in 2025. We're going to have a poet give a invocation, lots of networking, and lots of good food and drink. So
awesome.
Yep.
I just want to add, today's the last day to make comment about this. I know there was discussion the past couple of days about the West Main and Ridge McIntyre intersection VDOT Star Study. If there is any comments that want to be added, please send those comments in today. You go to their website, and essentially you're going to be sending Sandy an email, which is unorthodox, but it's on their project page. And I brought the posters from our public meeting a few weeks ago if anybody wants to see them up close.
Nice.
So many emails.
I think, Tommy, could you say okay to the meeting being transcribed? And I think Ethan possibly has his hand up. Yeah. Ethan, go ahead.
Yeah, as I raised my hand, I realized this is maybe more of a staff question, but I know when I first joined BPAC a while back, there was talk about snow routes and kind of the city's either responsibility or potentially coordinating role in figuring out sidewalk clearing in snow conditions. And we didn't really have anybody within City Hall to talk to about that. And there were the ADA compliance things that were all kind of roped into that were going to kind of impact the hierarchy of priorities and all of that. So that had been something that I had kind of taken on, and then it seems like we'd kind of shelved it. But I was just kind of flagging that in light of recent events to see if there's anything that we as BPAC ought to be thinking about on the snow clearing of sidewalks front. And if there's and I guess mostly curious about what's happening or what's being discussed within City Hall at the staff level that we might influence or assist with or whatever.
Do you have anything? I have something to say to that. Do you have anything?
I'll let you go.
Just Ethan, that that's one of the things that I thought might come up for the strategy, like strategizing subcommittee formation. I know we've had a snow subcommittee in the past. It sounds like maybe you were part of the previous one, and given the increase in attention and increased support we're getting for pedestrian infrastructure, perhaps it might be an idea to revisit that. I've heard from staff that it might be helpful to have our input on the city's current snow management plan, because I think they'll be looking at changing it, and if they're not looking at changing it, they should look at changing it. So if it's okay with you, we'll add that to the item on the agenda. But I think it should definitely be part of that item.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I have one further comment
Go for it.
related to Tommy's comment about this Ridge Street study. If anyone is going to submit comments before the deadline, which I presume is at midnight tonight. I would like to tell you what I'm gonna comment, which is that cars turning from Water Street right onto Ridge McIntyre Road in this design have a stoplight. But in a right turn only lane, a red light is no different from a stop sign, right? And if you cross that intersection many times as a pedestrian, now you know that everyone runs at stop signs.
They left all these people when they were playing.
So my
I'll be right.
strong opinion is that should be a no right turn on red stop sign. And I would love to see no right turn on red citywide. But this is a comment about the study specifically. And I also want to agree with something that Peter said in his email, that the vertical parking on South Streets should not be there. There should be a sidewalk there. So I would include that in your comments as well too.
Awesome, thank you. We've just had some new people join, and just for the sake of minutes and introductions, could we have some introductions, just name and neighborhood, if that's okay?
Yeah, sorry I was late, everyone. My name's Allie, and I live just south of downtown. I think the Ridge Street neighborhood is what we would call it.
Guinevere Higgins. I am the co-chair alongside James. Sorry, I'm coming from the dentist. But I live in Vaughan.
Cypress Smith, was just coming in from work. I live in the Georgetown Green area, just off of Hydraulic.
Cypress, was the bus on time?
No.
Oh,
Unfortunately not.
Okay, just curious. I'm trying to take the bus more and more, so.
It typically is. It's truly just the hour of 4 to 6 that it seems like the 7 is not on as an even game, but it's truly like just the traffic congestion makes it hard to serve tracks.
Not enough buses.
Yeah.
Awesome, welcome, thank you. Didn't mean to shame you for being late. It's great to have you here. Wanted to include you. Side as well, I don't think we caught you, and Zoe, you're welcome to become a panelist if you would like to speak, but you're also welcome to just sit and watch if you prefer.
Hi, yes, I'm Flynn. I'm a climate justice policy manager for the Community Climate Collaborative. Sorry, I'm meant to be here in person, but a call went long and I might join shortly in person.
Cool. Looks like Zoe's joining. Zoe, would you like to introduce yourself? No pressure to do so.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm a student at University of Virginia and I live over on Moreland Street.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. I think with Kevin's comment, that's all the public comment. Thank you for that. That was a good point.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not at 100%, but I tried to get through all my thoughts.
That's great. It's helpful with all these surveys. We find it's helpful for people to share, as you saw Peter doing, share the comments they're making, because we can't all think of the salient points. So next we'll come to questions for staff. Tommy provided staff updates. This is an opportunity to ask any further questions about any of those things. I know I have some questions, but I'll open up to the floor to start.
And I'll just say, I understand that some of you may not have had the opportunity to read through the updates because they came in today, but my goal was to get them out on Tuesdays. That didn't work out this week, unfortunately.
Sure. People can always email you about questions after the meeting. So, is that right?
That is right.
Ooh, I do have a question. You sent a link to a public viewer for the pavement plan. Maybe I should just stop there.
No, go ahead. There's a couple things in here that I almost Easter eggs. I'm wondering if
Okay, yeah, so this is I was paying attention comment.
Okay.
Veiled as a question. Later, you have a note about Rose Hill Drive being repaved shortly. And yet Rose Hill Drive does not appear as a highlighted street.
Well, there's actually, if you want to go a step further, there's another comment or update in there with no hyperlinks, no context, no additional information that we've all been talking about for years and years and years, and it's not on that plan either.
Cherry?
West Main.
West Main.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, yesterday.
I also noticed that the fact that Locust is getting repaved is not.
But is it?
Was not.
Is
The
it getting
utility-
repaved?
Well, that's what I heard.
Right, exactly. I heard that too, but right, but I didn't hear that within this building.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this may be one hand of pavement plan, and there may be another secret hand of pavement plan that we don't see. Is that what I should interpret?
I think when we asked, the last we heard was that this is to expect more on that pavement plan soon, whatever that means. But we've been asking for this plan, Ben and I, since 2.5 years ago. So, am I answering your question?
Why is the online pavement plan so crap? Is his question.
Yeah. Why is there no plan?
I don't think I have
Charge of it.
I don't public service. I don't have a great answer for you. They have provided an answer. I don't remember it off the top of my head in full detail because I'm pretty sure I remember it not being a great answer.
Can I ask, I've been hearing the past couple of weeks mention of public service, which is something that I hadn't heard about before.
Yeah.
What is public service?
Yeah, so someone will probably be able to explain this better. Just consider them public works. So Jonathan Dean is the head of public service. He reports to Stephen Hicks, who's in charge of public works. So public engineering or traffic engineering, public service, they all report to Stephen Hicks. And then there's utilities. And all that used to be kind of one pot, but they separated them out.
Any other question? I'll ask a question then. I saw on the Cherry, I think Josh has a question next. On the Cherry Avenue point, we've been hearing the Central Water Line project for Cherry Avenue is going to be taken up and repaved, hopefully as an opportunity to put in better infrastructure. You said there's a restoration plan, but not a streetscape plan. What is a restoration plan?
Oh, okay.
And how do we get a streetscape?
So I will yeah, good question. Man, but I will say a restoration plan, as I've been told, is so utilities is working with the RWC on that project. They're getting permits through traffic engineering. They came up with like the restoration plan. Essentially, there are swaths of that road that will kind of get repaved and milled, like blocks. But it might not be both lanes, both travel lanes. For example, it might be the one travel lane headed north and not the southbound, or vice versa. Just depends on what's needed and where, and dependent on the scope. Once they get in there, they can change their mind if needs be and decide to repave the whole thing. But there's also going to be like patchwork and not remilling at all. So they have like a plan specifically where they think they have to do some patchwork and where they think they have to do some remilling and then pavement or top. But because of all that, there's no plan for any type of restriping. that's the crux of that. I will push back on this idea of a streetscape. You know, there is the East High Streetscape Plan, which is a real thing that is going to happen, even though the project website is from 2021 and no one knows what's going on with it. That's a real thing that's supposed to go out to bid in the next couple months. I didn't add that in there because it's supposed to be on that hyperlink I added about transportation projects. It should be updated on there, and the last time it was updated was November. So that's a streetscape. A lot of the things that we've been talking about here is just a restriping plan. And the reason why I'm trying to make that point is because the folks over on 4th Street, Public Works, Utilities, they get really concerned when you say streetscape, because that can turn a simple project into like a West Main situation.
Slice.
Yes.
And really conflate, you know, a simple project. So and I just want to point out, since I'm making this point, that yeah, West Main's not on there, and technically speaking, as of today, I've been told Utilities has no plan on repaving West Main after their project. That's going to be up to Jonathan Dean of Public Service, which I've been told they should be doing that. I had not heard anything in writing that they will do that. We're under the impression that, you know, my task next fiscal year is to go after consultant to get a restriping plan. But I'd feel a lot more comfortable if someone could commit to it, even though a year ago that's what we were told.
Right.
But I haven't seen anything in writing.
Okay.
So
these are all kind of at the moment looking more like the Locust Avenue, where it's just kind of like patchwork.
So Locust Avenue, just to keep everyone up to date, that's a utility project that came in. No one over here reviewed that because it was just supposed to be a patched plan. So during that they have to do like ADA compliance on ramps, but they don't really have to do anything else. Well, that corridor has been discussed by the residents for decades for needing like traffic calming, and so residents are trying to maybe get more out of that project, is my understanding.
Okay. Thank you. Josh?
Hey, I have two small things. One on the paving schedule. I think we all had similar questions about this, and they're not questions for our staff liaison as BPAC. But I have found Jonathan Dean to be responsive to email. So if you have questions, I would encourage you to email him. I will be doing that. And then, and the thing that I think I want on pavement, by the way, is either pavement quality index scores or pavement something index scores. Basically, the city has a rating of the quality of pavement block by block, which corresponds quite closely to when we need to repave each block. And that's in a document somewhere, and I want that. And it exists, so we'll get it.
Yeah.
That's just a suggestion.
Thank you for getting it, Josh. I mean, a lot of this came through your, how do I say?
Well, I think I was like the 50th person to ask for this information, and I probably will just FOIA the PQI numbers because I think it would be easier for staff than email, frankly. But I think emailing Public Works has been, I've gotten answers, and I wasn't sure I would, so feel free to get in touch with them. My question about West Main, Cherry, Elliott is, when I've asked questions to NDS, to Kelly, the position is always NDS is going to work closely with utilities and Public Works to make sure that we have bike ped improvements as part of these utility projects. And I think that's what NDS intends to do. And it sounds like maybe the biggest challenge is getting information, getting on the same page with other offices, with utilities and Public Works. I think I heard about, and so my question basically is, what is the correct organizational tool to get everyone on the same page about these projects? I think I heard about a monthly meeting that NDS staff run with utilities, but Tommy, this isn't, you can't do this on your own, but what kind of working group or structure or work session will get everyone on the same page such that we actually get the improvements that we all want? Or do you think we already have that today?
So,
Be honest.
yeah. So I'm trying to, so on the first part, Josh, feel free, BPAC, to invite Jonathan Dean to a meeting. If you want, I can extend that invitation. If you think that would be helpful to get a more, a presentation about the paving plan, I'm happy to make that invite. So I've been thinking about what you've been saying a lot recently, Josh, your question, and it kind of ties into what my response might be about what is actually on the agenda later. But I can't do all this myself, and not nor do I attempt or say that I ever am. Like, Ben is tremendous, to be perfectly blunt, those meetings you referred to, those monthly or quarterly meetings we were having, were great. We haven't had them in a year. Those were Ben's meetings, and I think that the city is really struggling since those meetings stopped. And maybe I'll try to answer more of your question once we get into the agenda. James is shaking his head.
If it's pertinent to, don't let the agenda.
Okay.
Interrupt.
You all may have noticed that I'm trying to be really frank the past couple months, and because I'm tired of beating around the bush. I want to be as direct as possible, but I've been very frustrated, and there are projects that we don't even know how to plan about. We don't know about locusts coming up. We're asked about providing bike detours once the project's happening, but we have no clue about the design. I reached out to public utilities a year ago because I heard a rumor that they're planning on doing something, and we knew for a while that in our office that we wanted to do a restriping plan. And they said, "Well, hold off, wait a year," which, okay, makes sense. But I still don't know for sure if there's going to be repaving and when that may be. I have kind of a general idea, but nothing in writing or any commitment. There are projects that could be happening, that don't come through this office like we ask public developers to provide. If you want to build something in the city of Charlottesville, you've got to get a permit and go through site plan review, right? So Chris Ginzik, in fact, you'll see in my notes, he's got projects in the hopper with the city planners. But Locust, from what I understand, Locust Avenue, that didn't happen. So therefore, people didn't have the opportunity to say, well, we could do traffic calming after this, or we could repave this, or there was no discussion was being had. But to their fair enough, if they come back and say, well, repaving is not part of this project, no one really should be saying, let's do all this other stuff. If repaving is not going to be part of it, it's not really an opportunity to provide traffic calming. So Rose Hill kind of offers something new in that regard. We're going to have this big public engagement around it, so that's a good thing. This might be a step in the right direction. So yippee. But projects, it's hard from my standpoint to say let's get bike lanes or any other bike ped facilities in corridors that we've already identified that need them, when we don't know what projects are coming down the pipeline from internally. And that is happening. So I guess to answer your point, I hear that we're supposed to be working by departments. Feel free to copy me on your emails to Kelly. But I don't see it. I'm not experiencing that.
If I can ask a little follow-up. One assertion I want to make is that restriping is a great excuse to do bike infrastructure. We don't need restriping to do bike infrastructure. And I say this because before we learned about the utility work on West Main, you and Ben were working on bike lanes on West Main. And that work was paused to accommodate utility work on West Main. I don't see why it couldn't be resumed after the work is complete if we don't restripe. So And by the way, I'm not trying to convince staff of things that I think you already agree with. I'm just trying to make an assertion for the record. I don't think any outcome of utility work would mean that we should stop pursuing bike lanes on West Main. A question I have is, because this really sounds like a problem of organization and communication, I've been told that Planning Commission can convene a work session on topics within its remit. And I'm wondering if there should be a work session on transportation, which would include staff from various departments, to ask people questions in the same room on the record and get some answers. So if anybody has thoughts, let me know, but I'm going to look into that possibility and see if we can maybe unblock some things. I'm being optimistic, but maybe push a little bit harder on some things. So if that's a bad idea, let me know. If it's a good idea, help me do it. But I think it's a thing we can do.
Do it. Let's go. Do it.
Okay. I'll stop there. Sorry.
Thank you, Josh.
That's a really good point, his first point, but I'd forgotten personally that we were already doing like infrastructure can happen. It doesn't have to only have the repaving.
You just need to know what's happening so you know what.
We don't want to spend $100,000 or whatever on something and then they get milled up again, right? Like, but to your point, if it is going to get, well, I mean, even actually to Josh's point, let's say they don't remill it and they pave it and they just patch it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to know, is it going to be like that for 5 years? Is it gonna, what is for how long is this restrike? Because restriking is not like the most expensive thing in the world, but it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So especially an entire corridor.
And this might be naive of me to say, but if they're already doing patchwork, it seems like it should be cheaper to, instead of doing patchwork, do a full repaving, then do the patchwork and then do a full repave. Or are you saying we don't have to have a repaving in order to do a right?
I think that's what Josh was saying, and I agree with him technically, but again, like let's say we were to do that, and then 5 years later they decide to mill it up and repave it. I mean, I don't. At what point where's the cost and whatnot? And I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 2.5 years in this job. This was like when in my interview I sat right here and I said sidewalks and West Main were the two main things why I accepted this job. And I remember the first week we were talking about Andy Orban's bike lane idea, and we started looking into it. We sent it to a consultant. We wanted to explore how we can make it happen. And then I was kind of punted off to focus on sidewalks for a while and then to revisit the West Main. And at that point, that's when we realized that utilities is coming in. So let's not put anything on the ground right now. But you know what? It would have been really nice over the past 2 years if we had a better bike facility on West Main.
Yeah. So like when you're past like 3 years or whatever, the lost opportunity is more expensive than the redoing. And also like for something like a spot tear up patch, would they replace like with like if you had like if you had bike lanes and part of it got screwed up, would they not put them back there just like they'd put the yellow line back there if they busted that?
Well, I guess when you say they, you're saying the city, and when you say in the city, I don't know where that money's going to. In theory, like we pay for the initial install, they tear it up, and they have to pay for whatever we had planted our flag on.
Yeah.
I will say, here's the thing about West Main. Like, in a perfect world, we can put down something to see if it works, and then revisit it and improve upon it. So we have to just get something in there to see if it works. And
that's the spirit of Andy's thing, right? Was that knowing that West Main would be obliterated.
Right.
It would have a limited shelf life, and you could tell the church or whoever is opposed to it, this is definitely going away and revisit it.
Right. And unlike other places like that are going to make a corridor one way or take away a lane,
I know West Main's big. We know people are using it. A lot of people are using it, and it's taking away probably parking, not like a lane, and changing the nature of the corridor. So yes, there was a lot there. That I don't know. I hopefully, and I appreciate Josh's comments. Like, wait, he's on point with a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions? I saw that NDF staff have visited about 50% of the last year's quick build. You visited them to record data. What?
I think I wrote in the data. By data, I mean,
is that just photos?
Where did they actually install the thing? Because some of those, some of the installations is not exactly what we talked about,
right?
Potentially for good reason.
Sure.
But I want in photos, and I want to calculate. I want to record all that so that hopefully in the near future, we as a city discuss next steps with that program.
So you're just collecting.
I'm just going around town taking photos and making
public
notes.
works should have collected when they put them in. Is what I'm hearing. Like they should know what they put in.
Well, I honestly haven't asked them, to be honest with you, if they had or not. I know Josh had asked them questions, and I don't know if they said yay or nay, but
yeah.
Can I add one thing, Tommy? Sorry. This I actually had to FOIA. They wouldn't tell me. But I have Brennan's list of what was done and not done as of last November on quick builds. And the summary was they finished almost everything in the urgent quick builds category, minus a few things. They canceled everything on Rose Hill and didn't do some certain projects. And then there's been nothing done on anything that is not marked urgent quick builds in the website and the city page. That's meant to be this year, I'm told, but I don't know who's doing it or when or with what money yet. But I'll forward to the BPAC list Brendan's spreadsheet from last year. That's the latest I have.
Yeah, I saw that, Josh. And I'm like kind of felt like it was important, at least for me, to go around and put eyes on everything myself, essentially. And again, take pictures because. So, and I got a quick example is as the snow starts to melt in your all's neighborhoods, take a look at those
I have
speed
photos.
tables.
I have photos.
And
They do well.
okay. There you go.
Yeah.
We need to, as a city, be tracking that.
I know, and
That's
I'm
part of the
like,
program.
what do we even? Why can't these things just be permanent?
Well, yeah, but we need to track that so we can then ask the question,
Yeah.
right? Like,
But like, come on, everyone could have predicted this. Like, it's not rocket science.
we did predict it, and
We did.
We heard that they were going to be taken up. To be honest with you, in like November, ahead of winter, and they weren't.
Really? And Brennan also used it as a reason to delay putting in more. When he came to this group, that we're gonna wait till after winter. Well, if you wait until half a year later, it's not a quick build.
And it's if the whole purpose is to have them on the ground, like
Right.
not, they can't work if they're not there.
Right.
So why don't we just put in the things we know will work? It is a little
And you know,
bit boggling to mind.
I think. Do you mind answering that question? Because there is an answer to it.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm yes. I would like you to answer it.
Okay. Fire department.
Well, yeah, yes.
Just want to make sure
But it's also
not everyone knows.
yes, thank you. And the fire department, I don't know if they've rescheduled it yet, but they're having a public input session on how they do business. And so that is an opportunity for all of us to show up and say, we would like you to do business in a way that calms traffic.
Saves lives.
And so, yeah, makes your work easier.
So if you don't mind, I will just refer anybody who's interested back to a BPAC meeting from last year. One of your names will know the date when we had Caleb and Brennan speak to us about this stuff. I do think, even though I don't like it, it's fair to delay work for winter and fall because it is leaf and snow season for public works. So I get that. they're busy. But I think one of the sticking points that I want to hear more about in the future is their perspective, as I heard it when they came to us, was we need to put in a few projects and collect data for some length of time to evaluate what worked. Until that happens, we can't do any more. And I didn't agree with that, frankly. And I think the means of evaluation that were discussed here, as you'll remember, those of you who are here, were unsatisfying to me. So I think the idea that we delay until someone has time to evaluate data that we don't really trust isn't the right move. It's going to be a question for Brand's department. But I think if we wanted to engage with the arguments, that's the argument, is that we need to evaluate. The evaluation will be speed-based, and we won't see probably huge changes because the actual behaviors that we care about are probably more to do with angles, turning radius, and feelings of safety as pedestrians and so on, which are not captured by, car speed data. But so that's the argument. I don't agree with all of it, but just so we know what we're arguing about, that's what we heard last time, and we have recordings of that call if anybody wants to revisit it.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I'm guessing that was maybe October, November last year, if anyone wants to look for it. And for context for people who weren't here, last year was a big success story in getting a lot of quick build infrastructure projects down on the ground. Flex posts to shorten crosswalks, speed tables.
Rapid flashing beacons.
Beacons.
We don't have to take those out for the winter.
No, I'll call those quick builds because they're expensive and they're permanent.
Well, can I provide context? Remember, all this really came about because someone died.
That's right.
This is not like, I mean, and there was a good response, and we want to test things, but we have some money set aside to move forward on continuing this program. It would be helpful to know like what this program is, what the variables are, what the measurables are in the process and implementing them. So, I've gotten emails all the time saying, can we do X, Y, and Z in my neighborhood, at my crossroad? And I kind of just put it into this list of like, whenever somebody allows us to like do it, then we can have a discussion about what makes the most sense to be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't love that process.
And we will talk more about that in 15 minutes. But first,
sorry, just really quick. I wanted to second Guinevere's fire note because I saw that too, and I know that came up when we were talking about Rose Hill repaving session with the ladders and getting to tall buildings that don't exist yet, as well as many other things that I'm sure y'all have talked about before. But fire is an important lever this and some other things.
I will tell you that I asked them about that, and it's not a requirement that is flexible. It is set by the people who certify the fire department to make their things like that. So I was like, well, surely people in Europe fight fires, tiny trucks, and they were like, they don't have to be insured or certified by the same people we do. So it's not they would love to have.
Does that apply to getting ladders certain places too?
It's to be a certain fire station, you need X amount of things, and they set this standard. And
well, this is going to be my question.
Yeah, so
I think there's more to that, Jen. You leaving?
I could do it.
Okay. Well, I think there's a lot more to that because I'm not going to claim I'm an expert, but I have looked into it, and there's definitely localities that are insured that do a lot more ambulance, work with, or with a lot more medical response with ambulances than like large fire trucks with tower, on ladders and such.
Right.
I'll
say this, don't be surprised if you hear that it's the national agency that says that they have to have these things. Yeah.
The NFPA, which is not a government body. In case anyone doesn't know that. It's a private
they're in the pocket of big fire truck.
Well, I mean, institutions use this to self-replicate themselves. But it's been really inspiring to watch Josh be a pain in the ass to utilities, and we see how long it takes and how often Yeah, you have to, nudge them. And so I think even just as a group helping ourselves become more literate about what is and is possible with fire would be good. Anyway, the second thing was quick builds. I think there's a real case to be made that these should be not just seen as quantifiable variable reductions, but as neighborhood amenities. I think this is like super crucial to this program. We can't just let utilities say these are successful if these numbers work or don't. Like we saw it on the Jen just left, but we saw it in the quick build walk in our neighborhood. Like this makes people really happy, even when they hate the specific design.
Right, but how do they feel?
But that they feel,
Yeah.
and like there's a specific comment that was like, I don't really like this design, but it's so great that people are paying attention to our neighborhood and making improvements.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one way, just that, the emotional effective benefit of this. And it's the same with like, West Main streetscape. None of that is necessary, right? But we're doing it anyway because it makes the environment, enhances the environment. So anyway, I think yes, the numbers are good and we can continue nudging them to be less numbers obsessed and make the case, I think. Yeah.
Think less like engineers.
Yes. I mean, I appreciate where they're coming from too. I think, the two things can work together. Sorry.
No, thank you. That was very good. Peter, would you like to introduce this next item, or would you like me to introduce this next item?
As much as I love hearing your voice, I can try to talk about it.
Please.
I wonder if we could put the email that I sent.
Oh no.
What if I send it to you again right now?
Well,
No.
I'm not a
What
huge
if you
fan of
what if you send it to
recording my
Meredith?
email
What if you send it to Meredith?
and then putting it on YouTube.
I'll send it to Meredith and she can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Meredith should be able to screen share. Right?
Oh, thank you.
You're the best.
If I could get to my send button. So what I wanted to talk about was daylighting at crosswalks, which is a good old engineering jargon term, but it just means let's not have the cars parked right on top of the crosswalks. So it's another one of these, I don't know, we might lose parking topics, but really it's what can the city do to move towards not having parking in places where it's illegal already? I think the city code says you're not supposed to park within some number of feet of
20
crosswalk.
feet, right?
20, somebody can look it up. But if there's not a sign or a device, people are gonna park within 20 feet of a crosswalk, especially in places where parking is at a premium and not enforced. So I would like to just push for that from the BPAC perspective, because crosswalks are places that people are supposed to cross the street. And we're supposed to have drivers yielding, but it's just not reasonable to expect a driver to yield if you are hidden by a giant truck that's parked right upon the crosswalk. So, I think I saw an interesting article this week about a Waymo in San Francisco that hit a child, a driverless Waymo. The child darted out, of course, as children always do, from behind, from behind a car. But as we maybe will eventually also start to see more driverless vehicles here, they are also relying on being able to see people in the roadway. And we are making it in this city so that people cannot be seen as they're standing in a marked crosswalk. And I don't know why. All it takes is some signs that say no parking, some paint on the road, maybe some flex posts in places that people refuse to park in the way you're supposed to park. That's all.
Tommy, do you have any guidance for us on this?
You have to say something.
I was just gonna warn you that your the web tab still has your email pulled up, so
I'm gonna assume that everything's
Meredith's screen.
Oh, thank you, Meredith.
So you have to zoom way in, but basically these are my little pictures from Belmont at the top.
Wow.
And those are both legal parking spaces, at least according to the signs. And then UVA is that van. There's a legally marked parking space that has a little sign that says oh, don't put an oversized vehicle here, but it's always full of giant facilities. And then if you scroll down, the next picture down is an example of what DC is doing, which is when they're doing these street restriping projects, they're putting in flex posts and curb stops and markings within certain distances from crosswalks, just as their standard.
And look how wide that crosswalk is.
Well, also they have wider crosswalks,
But is that also part of the strategy of like, you don't feel like it's taking up more space?
I don't know. I don't know what. I
Feels
don't
like
know
it's part of
why
the
they
daily.
decided to make that wider.
They have bigger people there.
Well, they have greater volume
They have
of
greater
pedestrian
volumes,
traffic for
but
sure.
this is not at the mall. This is on Columbia Road. So yeah, I don't think this is out of scale of what Charlottesville could do.
Right.
It's not super expensive to put a.
That's
Right.
and something.
And the
And
Amazon
Meredith, can you
van
go up to the top again?
I mean, I love this idea for Rose Hill. It's wide, super wide.
Isn't there one more above that?
That was my first one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there was one more below that from New Orleans, which was just a less intensive
there you go.
approach. But it does use a different color of paint and some words.
Yeah,
And it's a little triangle, and people don't park there.
So I didn't think I was gonna have a response, but I texted Guinevere last night and I came up with a response.
Yeah.
But if we're ready for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one, if you notice in the staff updates, last month we had the pleasure of the new assistant city manager, Evan, joining us. And I got a call or an email that next week to try to move forward with this idea of putting bike corrals in the doctor's mobility hubs. And there are 4 new approved locations. So if you look in the staff updates, the examples include at Autos by a crossing on 2nd Street, at the Standard by a crosswalk, at the Doyle at a crosswalk, and the other one is right where GPA, West Main, and University Avenue all converge. Not at a crosswalk, but again, these are all the Docklands mobility hubs. This was something that Natalie's been talking about for a long time, and I had been asking. Essentially, I've got 30 approved locations for Docklands mobility hubs. Can we just put corrals in these? And the answer is like, no, we had to look at them individually before we put like a rack there. But just know that there is the purpose of us putting something at those crosswalks was also to help daylighting. Like that was an intentional thing. And then putting a rack there will also help with daylighting at the crosswalks as well. And corrals include flex posts and such.
Right.
However, over the past year and a half, several of us in this room have had meetings, and Jen's not here anymore, but she's been one of the ones leading the meetings with CAA and the ARP on these walk audits. And how do we kind of ingrain these walk audits into planners who are designing projects and such, right? Like, I see the value in this and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But if I have the ability to do a project, it's kind of like a one-off. And I don't really design the entire project, or I'm not in charge of a consultant the entire time, as of right now. Things change. My job has changed in the past 2.5 years. And related to the conversation we were saying earlier, there has been talk over the past 2.5 years of when projects happen, they need to come through NDS so that is an opportunity for different people in the workflow to make comments and make sure that our zoning is all checked off, our ADA is all checked off. We're complying with utilities, we're complying with traffic engineer, whatever it is. Everyone has their little abilities to check off a site plan. It would be really cool if everybody was just educated on these type of facilities that we can install, whether it's traffic calming or whatever you want to call it. And that's when we can just say, this is when we do this thing. And that's my response. We should do that.
Yes.
Essentially. And I feel like people, and you may have heard people say that's where we should be heading, but I can tell you that isn't happening right now. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to give you all like what's happening.
So fully support that. How can we get, what would, we want more daylighting to happen and not just when new things go in. It seems like, as Peter says, it seems like something that the city is capable of doing. It doesn't feel like they live.
Yeah.
Would it help, for example, to have a list of like the 20 priority locations where daylighting could do the best job?
Potentially, that's a way to go about it. I think it doesn't hurt to have feedback from the community, like point us in the right direction. I will say that looking at Locust Avenue again, that's where I started thinking about like what were some missed opportunities. And I know you all sent a letter. I didn't totally agree with like using Locust Avenue as an example of a missed opportunity because y'all were kind of focused on bike lanes. And I, as someone who lives over there and crosses over Locust Avenue every single day, and kids who go to school have to cross over. The biggest thing is daylighting and traffic calming along that corridor. It's people going over Locust Avenue at Sycamore, at Poplar, at Hazel. It's dangerous. And if there were neck downs and traffic calming measures, Lord, God forbid, like raise crosswalks, then
bike lanes.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps I'm not poo-pooing bike lanes. I'm just letting you know that like that would have been really cool if like whenever the project coming through, we said, all right, well, let's institute some of this stuff after that project was completed. That's what made me think about my response, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But it would, to answer your question, I did get a request from Ben to like look at different kind of quick build projects, and I gave him a response based on what people have provided me in the past, based on things that we didn't install from last year's projects, and some new ones that have bubbled up for me just kind of like being observant and things that I think are important. And then the point was at some point we're going to sit down with traffic engineering again. I was told that James Freeze is bringing this meeting together and we would kind of talk about this. But it's been several weeks now. We had a snowstorm. Hopefully that happens, but it doesn't honestly feel like we have like a process to like say for sure to the public, this is how we do it. This is what I need from you to like move forward.
John. Okay. Josh.
Okay, I think Tommy already covered some of this, but to put more of a point on it, traffic calming is going to be case by case and talk to engineers in different departments and so on. Daylighting, as far as I can tell, isn't that way. It can be a policy, and the policy can be you can't park within X feet of a crosswalk anywhere. That's the law in New York State. Well, go ahead, sorry.
We have that policy actually on the books. Isn't that what you
I
were
don't
saying?
know.
I was just looking at like it's sorry, it's based on state.
Yeah.
And it's like it's 20 feet in both Maryland, Virginia.
Right. What? So like just getting in compliance.
And parking, CPD traffic does actually issue tickets for that. I've literally seen them issue a ticket for parking too close to an intersection or a crosswalk before. It's not just crosswalk, it's any intersection. But yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
Oh no, sorry I missed that before. But if that's already policy, that seems really helpful. It seems like it's not. We aren't asking for a new fancy idea that's untested. We're asking for enforcement of rules on the books.
Yeah. But Josh, one of the challenges is we have parking spaces that are signed as legal spaces within 20 feet of a crosswalk. So that's a policy / engineering conflict, and I don't know where the resolution is for, because you don't want to have the police come out and say, well, it's a legal spot, it's got a sign right there.
Well, you have to eliminate those parking places though.
Right.
Is what I'm asking for.
That's what
Yeah,
needs to
this is what I'm
And
suggesting
that's,
we do.
yeah.
The law is written.
And we have a good example of this. So on JPA and Observatory, Peter, you probably know this spot what I'm about to say very well because it was a bus stop, and they took it away, and it became a parking spot. So for a couple minutes, X number of times throughout the day, yes, there was a bus blocking that section, but it wasn't a big car the entire time. So like daylighting was never really an issue when it was a bus stop. When it became a parking spot, then a car was parked there and it became a major issue at that crosswalk. So I did get traffic engineering approval to take that spot away, and we put a dockless mobility up there. And all those people were super happy that that happened. And yes, we needed some dockless mobility parking there, but it was honestly mainly about daylighting.
Yeah.
I like this strategy.
Stacking functions is always the best approach.
And then you're not saying we can't use this space. You're supposed
So
to.
can I attempt to summarize a little bit of what Peter and Josh were describing? I think there is there are opportunities where we can take advantage when like projects come up, but there's also, because there's something legally on the books, for us to like have a group of 20 places where we take away parking,
Right.
and we don't even have to necessarily add striping if we don't want to. We just move the sign back.
Right.
We can down the line maybe add more striping or a bike corral or something, but literally just move if there's a traffic sign, we just move it back 20 feet because that's how big the parking spot is, 7 by 20.
It feels like it would be helpful to have examples of where that's the case. Like where the signs conflict with the law, and take photos of all of them and send them to city manager and council and city attorney and whoever.
Do they really need to go straight to the city?
Well, look at the law though in a little bit more closely, because I was my understanding it was not like mid-block crossings would be different.
Right.
For example, it's 20
It's
feet
not
at a
protecting
corner or an intersection.
The crosswalk, it's protecting the turn radius.
Right, correct. And the reason why I say that is I remember Kevin Cox flagged down a CPD officer who was driving past on West Main after a car was parked, where 8th Street is on West Main. Their car was literally in the middle of the crosswalk. And there's signs telling them not to do it, but they were just parked there in front of the ramp. And Kevin literally flagged him down and hustled him back and said, "Give this guy a ticket." And they gave him a ticket. But it took Kevin obviously to be doing that. But it's him blocking the crosswalk. The normal legal parking spaces are within like 5 feet of that crosswalk.
Yeah.
And that's legal technically. If that makes sense.
There's some research too. The potential for.
Yeah,
As well, yeah. Awesome. Next item is building on what we've been discussing last meeting and the meeting before, where we adopted a work plan or a guiding document of topic areas we want to focus on this year. Not intended to be an exclusive list of issues, but it is intended to focus the mind and hold us somewhat accountable to our stated goals and aims for the year. And we've spent a lot of time talking about what we want to do, and I think now it's time to get to work and do it. So with that in mind, those of you who have computers hopefully can see it. I have printed copies if people want to look at it. Oh, thank you very much, Meredith. Meredith has it up on screen. There are, I think, 7 focus areas that we want the committee to, well, the committee has said it wants to be involved in. And I think it's time to start strategizing, figuring out, we're not going to talk about all 7 today. I think one that I want to definitely make sure we cover is formalizing the quick build process. We've already been talking about that. That's something that has been determined. The city is looking at it. The transportation is looking at it. Public Works is looking at it. Traffic engineering's looking at it. How to improve that. And I know it would be helpful if feedback weighed in with what we want to see from the program moving forward. So I'm just kind of opening it up to ideas for where we see kind of next steps coming in, where subcommittees may be helpful, and if so, who would be interested in forming those said subcommittees. And Guinevere, feel free to add on to that if
I'm so sorry, I'm managing a little.
Sorry to call. Was it out of that band?
A couple different directions. Quick builds. I think we should just start. I think we should start there. I asked Kyle earlier this week if he would like a Safest to School subcommittee, and he was like, yes, but not yet. So I think we can get with Kyle about that. Potentially having like an outreach committee could also be helpful. As we think about like, I mean, it will be spring again, one day, and we will be doing more events in the community. The Bike Month will begin really soon. There'll be lots of opportunity for getting on neighborhood association or neighborhood. Are they neighborhood associations? That's what they're called. Getting on their calendars. So yeah, I think that could be another slightly lighter lift for the people who are not as interested in talking about speed tables and neck downs, but who actually like being with people and hearing their concerns. That could be a nice place to show up for the non-engineers potentially. Yeah. I'm also thinking, well, James and I have a little more work to do around making sure that our kind of calendar for the year is set up so that we are getting the right staff in at the right time to be, this is not a committee assignment, but just as we think about like when it's helpful to have, for example, Public Works come and talk to us, or engineering, as we think about what those subcommittees are up to. That's what I got.
You can put me on a subcommittee.
Thanks.
Yeah, are we just advocating ourselves in? Is that what?
I mean, if anyone's interested in quick builds, that's just ongoing work.
Yeah.
There's plenty to do. There's like kind of a research component of being on that subcommittee. And this is really all for the committee to decide.
Right.
Like, what do we want to do? But one part Tommy has asked for us to develop, like how, like some communities have like whole quick build, like a whole program. And if you are a resident who has a quick build need or concern, you can go and fill out a form and like request your quick build. And it's very formalized. It's like a line item in the budget. And so that's, one approach we could take. I think I think that's probably, we're not there yet. I do think, it's going to require a little bit more coordination with just like, how are we measuring the success of these things? How are we ensuring that they are not falling apart? How are we making sure they're getting replaced when they need to be or turned into hardened infrastructure? I think that's everyone's goal, is that they don't stay quick builds. So kind of working out some of the details, recognizing there are a lot of hurdles to clear around just coordination and timing and money and all kinds of things. But anyone want to join? You sound like you're interested in the topic.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, you and Kevin, great.
Is that the committee you most interested in?
It sounds like that's our most highest priority right now. And I am very willing to work on it. So yeah, I mean, you can probably wherever you need.
I don't think that. I think it is a priority right now. It's also the thing that we have the most experience and success with in the past year and a half. So it's kind of like our model for, hey, this works, let's carry on. But there are a whole bunch of other things that if people have energy for are just as important.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, I'm sorry, the advocacy, I'm happy to work with humans.
Right.
It's my job on the day to day, so I'm good with that
Awesome.
too.
And I see Ethan's got his hand in also. And came first.
Yeah. Hey, sorry. Are we inferring what the committees are or could be based on these things in the guiding document? Or I mean, it seems maybe like the first step is kind of taking this guiding document and parsing it out into what the actual committees would be that would be working on these things, and then we figure out how we go about signing ourselves up for them, or I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe missing something in missing a prompt or something in this conversation.
Right, that's what I'm feeling too, that I haven't kind of presented this as effectively as I should have done. And I think that's out of a hesitancy to, like, I don't want to say, I think we need these three subcommittees.
Right.
Who wants to join them? Because I don't know, I'm not going to be on all the subcommittees. And I don't know what all the subcommittees are going to be doing. So in my head, I was hoping that people would be like, oh, that really interests me. I can be on, like, it would be helpful to sit down with a couple of people, or I'll just take that on myself and report back in a month or so, to be more organic. But I understand why, like Ethan's point is a good one, that more guidance would be helpful. So you mentioned QuickBooks subcommittee, outreach subcommittee. I also thought the whole repaving discussion could do with the subcommittee. And we've heard mention that, well, it's not on the work plan. It came up this month that the snow clearing plan should be revisited, and advocacy for that may benefit from the subcommittee.
Can I just say something? I've been talking a lot I'm making myself sleepy how much I'm talking, but I didn't get a chance to comment on Ethan's when he was talking about the snow committee earlier, and you reminded me of something just now. I haven't heard many people talk about what condition our sidewalks are going to be in after this snow.
Perfect condition.
Okay.
Well, what do you mean by condition?
Well, salt destroys concrete. And
so does skid steers.
And we have contractors helping out who may not be as gentle with our government facilities as hopefully our public service employees.
And you mean the curb ramp detectable warning?
Correct. All of that.
Oh gosh.
All of that. So and then we're gonna have another big 88 transition update that's gonna point to all these new issues that we have. Money's gonna need to be raised and allocated to fix all these things. Is there something that needs to be done to help protect our valuable asset that is sidewalks while snow events happen? And there is like a snow committee, internally that I'm not part of, but they asked for feedback and I mentioned that. But anyway, I just wanted you reminding me of that when you were just talking about I forget what it was, but yeah.
So
that could be a unintended consequence from fierce advocacy to get sidewalks clear or something, when maybe a better solution is to slow traffic on the streets and chill out on alacrity on the sidewalk clearing. I know it like rocks people's worlds, but you're showing there's a cost to some of the things that we advocate the most fiercely for.
I don't, yeah, I don't, I could continue that a little bit, but, I don't want to derail the conversation about the subcommittees and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I raised my question not as like a criticism of the guiding document or anything like that. I mean, I feel like that's definitely on the right track, but I feel like that, you know, I'm coming at this from like the nonprofit background, and so typically like that would be the organizational plan or the strategic plan, and then from that the structure of the organization would come out, and that's where the committees would be. And so I'm advocating for postponing staffing the committees until we have a list of committees that reflects kind of all of the different things that this document says we ought to be doing. So maybe having a draft of that go out between this meeting and the next meeting, so people come into the next meeting with like a pretty clear sense of where their skills and interests might fit into that work plan with, you know, 4 to 6 committees, maybe something like that.
I mean, we could take the time right now and just figure out what the committees are.
I like that.
Can we hear from, I like that too. Can we hear from Josh?
Sorry. A thing I want to resolve before people commit time to committees is if we can get people to listen to the committee's work product. Not to be slightly cranky, we've had a quick build committee before, and we had output, and I would say not all of the output went anywhere. And if we don't have clarity about staffing and budget for quick build implementation, I don't know how much time we should put into recommendations. I want us to be able to make recommendations, but I first want to have some confidence that someone will hear them. I know NDS will, but NDS are not the ones who are putting things on the ground.
Well, perhaps the subcommittee's role would not purely be recommendations, but also strong arming people, glad handing them, to use a nicer term, to, you know, actually lean on, to first identify and then lean on the public officials who need to be communicated with.
Yeah, I think that's probably realistic. I don't want, I'm happy to have people here for the first time today. For example, I don't want to promise you all that you're doing a committee and make recommendations and then people will go and implement them. I want to promise that, but I don't want people to be let down. I think making the subcommittees about advocacy first and then implementation after making some progress on the advocacy side is probably less likely to lead people to be disappointed, maybe, or more honest about where things stand right now. But that's probably the truth right now. I think we should go ahead and do this, but I want to be clear about, like, the first part of the work plan has to be get someone to listen to the second part of the work plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe, and I mentioned this, but just to like give an example for folks who haven't been here the entire time, or you know, there was a quick build subcommittee, you all gave us recommendations. We've got like 10 to 20 quick build projects that have been approved, and 2 years later, and they aren't on the ground. So this is outside of the urgent transportation projects. So that, I think that's kind of probably what Josh is speaking to.
Right. And after that, we had another round, like subcommittee had another set of things because the city had asked us for it. You guys had asked us for it, and those had been implemented.
Correct.
Which is like perfect example of what Josh is talking about.
Right. So and again, that project happened and went forward because someone died. And now all of those previous previous projects that you all recommended, we added them into the urgent transportation list, so they are baked into that as well. But they haven't been installed.
We heard, James and I heard earlier this week, a desire for accountability, that we as a public body, a group of residents, have a unique position to be holding city staff accountable to projects. I even jokingly was like, maybe we're the Bicycle and Pedestrian Accountability Committee. But maybe that's actually what the Quick Build Committee is. We just like take our cues from Josh's good digging and many emails, and we just do the work of like, where are the quick builds? When will they go on the ground that have already been in the pipeline? And that literally could be the job of like every committee, could just be the like accountability work. And I'm not trying to be like negative and down on staff or anything, but I think it really is like, sometimes there's really good reasons why things can't happen, but we don't know what they are. Or we don't know how to ask for something different if plan A doesn't work out. So, you know, that could be one thing that the Quick Build Committee, if maybe that's all the Quick Build Committee does right now.
Cypress, did you?
I did, sorry. I do love that there's been a great focus on quick builds, and I think that it's done a lot for the safety and traffic flow and ability to feel safe on the roads and being near the roads. So I don't want to minimize what that has done. I personally, like, I just learned how to ride a bike last year. The streets were sometimes kind to me, sometimes not. But it's still a new skill I'm developing. I do walk almost everywhere, if not take the bus or some combination thereof. So if there's a call for people who are interested in working with certain subcommittees, I would want to do advocacy as from the perspective of someone who's primarily a pedestrian or somebody who's using the bus. And tying back to that idea of snow removal, most of the bus stations and stops that I have seen in the last 2 weeks are horribly like still snowed over, or I like earlier today on my way in, I I watched as students and people also trying to get on the bus were like clambering over snow mounds to get to a spot that was slightly less impacted to then wait for the bus right up against the road. And I've done that myself, and it doesn't feel safe or good. And the bus driver certainly does like get real close to you because they have to, because it's an extra wide vehicle in a standard lane space. Not to mention that if there's additional ice on the road or snow on the road, that they have to also account for that. Sometimes dive into the other lane of traffic that's going in the opposite direction. And so I would be willing to speak from that perspective in that committee. But one of the big struggles that I think we're facing right now is it's really hard to prove a negative. And unfortunately, the negative that we're proving is that, well, no one's dying because of the things that we're doing. And so the negative being the 0 deaths doesn't mean that it doesn't feel like progress. It just feels like mitigation, which is really hard to note as advocacy without adding that special Josh factor of getting a little relentless with it. So we can call it like that factor, we can call it being annoying, we can call it pinging, we can call it whatever. We just have to do it.
And I think what's important about that too is then that Tommy has to do less of that.
Yeah.
Like it makes Tommy's job easier.
Well,
because we can be loud and annoying in ways that Tom can't.
Yeah.
I get that. I appreciate it. I also, I'm not gonna lie, after a while it becomes evident that I don't have the ability, you know what I'm saying? So, and I will, and we're gonna wrap up here soon. I am optimistic. I have been coming across as negative over the past few months, but I am optimistic that we have the right people in the right place. And we have a lot, I think, of material to prove that we have issues.
Yes.
So like I think today's been kind of a maybe, at least from my standpoint, depressing meeting to talk about this stuff. But I'm hopeful that like, we're not going down. We were going up, I think, for a while, and it feels like we've been going down. I'm hopeful that we haven't hit the bottom yet. We're getting close, and we're going to be on our way up again. I know that there's good people. Like we are just, I feel lost, and I'm hopeful that we can. It seems obvious to me that we're lacking direction, and we have people who's supposed to be providing that direction.
I don't think this has only been like a depressing meeting that has just kind of got us down. I think, and I understand what you're saying, that the last few months have felt like, okay, there's this problem and there's this problem, and this isn't happening well. But I felt like in that time, and especially in that meeting, in this meeting, we've become more specific. They're like, okay, what's the actual problem? What's the actual holdup? And I feel like I've come away with a better idea of who I need to ask for what and where the avenues of success might be. So I appreciate that, and I hope you don't think that like, this has just been a kind of a vetch session. I guess it's felt to me like it's been somewhat productive. Not in the way that I thought it would be, but nevertheless somewhat productive. It has given me action steps that I hope will be more successful than the action steps last month, be more successful.
That's why we have to wallow more in things that do achieve our goals. I'm looking at the minutes from 2014 Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory. The city manager organizes volunteers to help shovel snow, but there have been challenges maintaining a list of volunteers and linking them with people who need help. Somebody figured it out this year. They figured out we can have the United Way do that. I don't know who figured it out, but BPAC can ask.
Can I vent about that?
Oh no.
I mean, nobody signed up.
I got to hear this in the hallway.
Yeah, Mike got to hear. There's a group of us that have been saying for a year now we should be working on this, and then 3 days into the snowstorm, Misty Graves, who isn't in this world at all, decides, hey, why don't we reach out to United Way, who's the director of Human Services. And they're like, oh, great idea. Meanwhile, there's been a group of us for a year saying, why don't we work with the community? Meanwhile, the people who had to do that instead were told, no, we don't want to hear you. You have to go out there and cite people. And those same people, by the way, you might have to talk to that are business owners, but when they're homeowners, to say we want to build a sidewalk in front of your yard, who are then going to say, well, you're going to cite why do I want a sidewalk in front of my yard if you're going to, if it's my responsibility to maintain it, you're going to cite me. So
that's why we don't make it a discussion. Right? Like
no, we make it a discussion. If we want to get temporary construction easements, if we want to, and to make something not cost a lot, then, or it's always going to cost a lot, but if we want to reduce costs and get like move utilities and all that, we have to work with the homeowner.
Right.
There's no way around that. Like you can still take eminent domain, but like it's still going to be like a discussion with the homeowner.
Right.
And I mean, not every single project should be eminent domain.
No. It's expensive.
Yeah. And time consuming. If you can work with the homeowner, it's quicker. And you want them to work with you.
We're at time.
Yeah.
We're past time.
Thank you, everyone.
Does anyone have announcements or any?
I just not put in the email. Reach out to Meredith or I if you want to be a bike marshal for the prolific run/walk later this month.
You've got 5.5 hours to submit.
I wore my t-shirt for you, Tommy. My freedom and liberation from t-shirt.
To submit your comment on the Rick Street West Main study.
Yeah, and if you also, on that note, happen to have any pals in the Downtown Business Association who need a little educating about the benefits of protected bike infrastructure for businesses.
Yeah, so
to chat with them.
So does anyone know what the process was? For them as an association?
Well, can we end the meeting real
Yeah,
quick?
let's
All right, we get all right. Thank you guys. I'm gonna end recording now.
Second.
Oh, thank you for being here.